Hello and welcome to week 2 of your webinar series. So my name is Claire and I will be partly taking today's webinar with one of my colleagues. So I am going to be manning the Q&A function today and also the Slido slides. So as always, if you have any questions that come up during the session and you don't want to forget them, feel free to just pop them into the Q&A panel or make a note of them and pop them into the Q&A panel when we stop for our various Q&A breaks throughout the session. So just because we want to always check that the technology is working and you guys can hear and can see us, I just want to ask you to pop the word hello into the Q&A panel for us. Always takes a few seconds, about 20 seconds for it to come through and reach us at this end. But if you can do that now for us, and then I can just check that everything is working well. Just give it another moment longer. Lovely, that looks great. Thank you guys. So that's all working well. So please feel free to either use the Q&A function if you're happier with that, or you can use the Slido. So just a quick little reminder from last week, having 2 devices can be really helpful when you're doing the webinar, perhaps watching us now on a laptop or a computer and maybe having your mobile phone so that you can use the mobile for the Slido function. Or if you haven't got 2 devices, absolutely fine. Just use your mobile phone or the Q&A panel. So you can pop your questions onto whichever format is easier for you. Brilliant. So I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Emma, who will be running the majority of the webinar today. And I will look forward to seeing what your answers and questions are coming through at the next Q&A break.
Thank you, Claire. So let's get started then. Hope you can all hear and see me okay. Any problems at all, as Claire mentioned, just pop anything into that Q&A panel and hopefully we'll be able to sort that out. Okay then. So as you can see, today is week 2 of your webinars, and we're going to be going through how to improve your motivation and set effective goals. So the plan for today is to recap on last week. So just to make sure you remember what we did last week. And then we're going to look at understanding motivation and why sometimes we struggle to feel motivated. To understand goal setting and how we can use it to form healthy routines and habits, and understand how rewards can help us to continue with our progress. And then we're going to look at how to set a goal for this week. Okay. So the recap from last week then, so just a brief reminder of what we did. So we had an introduction of the importance of healthier living, how to use this course to improve your well-being, and how and where to start making some changes. So we had an introduction which was hopefully showing you the importance of healthy living, and then as the second 2 points there as well. Okay, so over to Claire then for our first Slido session.
Slight delay there. Thanks, Emma. I'm here. So first Slido session. We will just wait with bated breath to see what answers you have got. Like I say, also I've been manning the Q&A function, so if you're a bit unfamiliar with the Slido, just pop your replies in whichever way you're more comfortable with. quite a nice moment just to have a bit of a reflection as well on what you did do last week, because it might be that maybe unconsciously you started to make some changes and you haven't really recognized them, or maybe even you know, rewarded yourself for doing them. So brilliant. Okay, so we've got the first one coming through. Drank an extra glass of water each day. Excellent. We can't really, can't think of the words, underestimate the importance of water, not only on our physical body, but also on our mental health as well. So that's brilliant that you've introduced an extra glass of water. Hopefully it will help with some fatigueness, maybe some brain fog, maybe feeling a little bit more alert, a little bit more hydrated in the body generally. Found it easy? As it was easy to change. Excellent. I think that's the thing as well. If we start small, as we're always talking on these webinars about our goals, make them small, make them realistic, make them achievable, then hopefully you will be able to achieve them quite easily, and then you can just build on those goals so that they become bigger and have more of an impact on your lifestyle. So had fruit with breakfast each day, struggled as kept forgetting. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. When we're trying to make any changes to our lifestyle, we've got ourselves into these, you know, these habits which may have been over weeks, months, maybe even years. So the new habits are not going to happen straight away. So just bear with it. Maybe put some reminders on your phone, some little post-it notes around the house, just until those habits become a little bit more sort of habitual, so you don't have to think about them. I made sure to drink at least 2 litres of water each day, and also tried some new meals. Excellent. That's really, really good. So the ideal is about 2 litres of water each day, which is perfect to keep us nice and hydrated, keep flushing through the toxins, keep everything working in all of our internal organs, and keep them nicely working as well. And try new meals. That's a really, really good new one, because you know, food is so important to us and it can be so enjoyable, but if we're lacking in motivation and we're feeling stressed, we have low mood, then that's one of the first things that can go. So actually researching new meals brings that kind of new enjoyment and inspiration, hopefully, to cooking again and food planning, and then actually, you know, actually enjoying those meals and feeling that you've achieved something as well because you've prepared them from scratch, which is really lovely. So brilliant, well done. And then did some relaxation sessions on YouTube twice, found it easy, I scheduled it into my day. Perfect. That's the thing, isn't it? We can always find the time. If you think about it, there's a lot of time during the day when we are awake. And actually, if something is important to us, then we can always find the time, even if it's just a few minutes. So relaxation is so important for our mental health. So the fact that you're scheduling it in is perfect, because again, you can't miss those occasions. And again, over time, over the weeks or the months, then it will become much more natural, and then you won't need to think about it again. So brilliant. That's really good. Well done, guys. So this is a really nice start. Thank you for all your interactions so far. There's some great answers coming up here. So I will hand back over to Emma.
Lovely, thank you, Claire. Right, moving on then. Okay, so what is motivation? A reason or reasons for acting or behaving in a particular way. So motivation drives us to do things, and this drive can change, such as why we get up in the morning, why we eat, drink, why we do literally anything and everything. So it's really important for us to have a reason why we do these things. So for example, if you're trying to make changes to your diet and lifestyle, you need to have a reason why this reason and this reason could be to have more energy or to feel good, or even to prevent long-term health conditions, or to be able to run around with the kids as you get older, etc. So obviously everyone has their own reasons why, or what drives them to do something or motivates them to do something. Okay, motivation then. So there are two types of motivation. You have intrinsic motivation, also known as internal motivation, and this is the motivation that comes from within you. You can make changes on your own and you don't need someone else to remind you. So an example could be that you're participating in an exercise class because it's fun and you enjoy it rather doing it to win an award, okay? And then you have extrinsic motivation, also known as external motivation. And this is the motivation you get from someone or something else. So an example could be you're having a coaching session, one-to-one coaching sessions as part of the program here at VitaMinds, or you a family member or a friend. So you have an external person or something motivating you rather than internally or intrinsically motivating you, okay? So by yourself. And then you have positive and negative reinforcement to improve your motivation. So positive reinforcement is when you achieve something, you get rewarded and you get rewarded for it. So an example of this could be you're doing well at work and you get praised for it. The outcome was good, so it positively reinforces you to do it again. And then you've got negative reinforcement is when, and another example is when you have made plans to meet up a friend for a walk and you don't feel up to it, but you go anyway to avoid that disappointment of disappointing your friend. So there is negative reinforcement then. So what do you think, or what type of motivation do you think you need? So just have a little think for a moment. You can write it down. You don't need to share that with us. Just write it down for yourself or just have a little think about it to yourself. What actually motivates you? So I'll give you a moment to think about that. Okay. So as part of the vicious cycle of mood, one of the most common behaviours is doing less. This is often due to the feeling of being unmotivated. And then when we do less, we want to do less, and so on and so on. We know that if we start doing more, this can increase motivation. So then we do a little bit more. This means it starts with action. Motivation follows, which leads to further action. Okay, so why do we lose motivation then? So there's a few different examples on the screen now. So first of all, we have lack of purpose or boredom. So you may not have a good enough reason for doing something, or we're bored of what we are doing. You compare yourselves to others, so you look at what other people are achieving and you feel like you will never get there, so what's the use of trying? You're in a habit of not doing something. So you, for example, are in a habit of just coming home after work and just chilling on the sofa. So that's your habit that you're forming. You have unrealistic goals, so you have set yourself some unrealistic goals or changes. You don't value yourself, or you're impatient with yourself. And then your environment and the people around you. So you may live in an area that doesn't have any outside space to exercise, or you may surround yourself with negative people. So there's just a few examples there. Okay, so thinking about the pros and cons of making changes can help us with our motivation. To do this, it might be helpful to remind ourselves of the goals or our values. When you're feeling unmotivated, remind yourself that the pros of change and the cons of not changing are more important to you than the pros of not changing. So on the screen now, you can see some examples of the pros and cons of change, but this will be different for everybody. So on the screen, you can see that some pros of change are I will feel better, I will be healthier, I will be more productive, I will enjoy time with others. And then the cons of change, it is difficult to change, I don't feel like doing things, I might fail, okay? And then no change. So the pros, it's easy to stay how things are. I don't have to try hard. I'm not doing the thing that I fail at, so no risk of failing. And then the cons then of no change, I'll continue to feel low. I won't get better. It may affect my relationships. Things could get worse. All right, so there's some pros and cons there. So on the screen now is a template you could use to look at the pros and cons to change for yourself. Here's an example to help you. So your current behaviour is watching TV after work for the rest of the evening. So the pro of that is little energy required, and the cons lowers your energy further. And then you've got your new behaviour then, walking for 30 minutes after work before watching TV for the evening. So you feel better, which is a pro, and the cons can be difficult to start. And then it's a good idea then to rate how important and how possible it is for you to make these changes. Okay. So please feel free to take a photo of this slide to use after the webinar today. So I'm just going to pause for a moment if you'd like to take a photo of this. Also, we do have this available as a tool in the Healthy Living, Healthy Minds programme. So feel free to drop us an email as well. Our email address is hlhm.admin@vhg.co.uk. We will pop that in the Q&A panel for you as well. Feel free to drop us an email after today's session and we can send that through to you as well. Okay, so we have a quick Q&A section now. So I'm going to hand you back over to Claire now, ready for this session.
Lovely, thanks Emma. So I've just popped the email address in there that Emma was just mentioning, so popped that into the Q&A panel. Do feel free to write it down or take a photograph of it if you need it. So let's just see if there are any questions coming through for us at the moment. Okay, so we've got a question here. I like the slide with the pros and cons of motivation. I hadn't thought about it like that, so I'll try and use that table myself. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great, simple, really effective, useful tool that actually all of us can use in all areas of our lives just to help us really work out, our motivation for change in doing whatever it is, whether it's work, relationships, whether it's health, lifestyle, anything. So it can be, simple and effective, which is perfect. So do feel free to to use that wherever you feel the need for it, really. Anything else coming through? Don't be shy. Does take a while, especially if you're typing something a little bit longer for it to come through as well. Okay, great. So this is a good one and very, very common with a lot of us actually. I'm struggling to motivate myself to exercise as I feel I'm in a bit of a vicious cycle. I've got low mood and low energy, so I can't face exercising. Yeah, absolutely. You're not alone here. And that's one of those previous slides that Emma talked about there with the motivation and action. We can often think that we have to find the energy, we have to find the motivation to get started, but actually just making that really, really small start, just taking that first step can often be enough just to give us that boost and improve our motivation enough to then want to do more. And of course, then we have this sort of behaviour breeds behaviour. The more we do, the more our body wants to do. So it's just about sort of trying to make that first baby step. I think also writing down the reason why. We say this a lot during these webinars, but that's our motivational question for ourselves. Why do we want to make this particular change? And it could be because you're struggling with your health and the GP has advised that you need to improve it. It could be that you want to be more active with the children, you want to exercise with colleagues after work, you know, whatever it is. So the why can be really, really important to identify initially. And then can you arrange with perhaps a friend or a family member, a partner, try and see if you can exercise with them, see if you can have kind of some sort of joint motivation together, so that also you're held accountable to, so that you can't cancel on them, because yeah, you'd be letting them down. And then planning something fun. So, you know, if you're not a runner, there's absolutely no point in trying to force yourself to go out for a run. But actually, if you like dance, then something like a dance class, you know, on your own or with a friend can be really good fun. You know, you've got great music, you've got good vibes, lots of energy in the class. So maybe trying to identify something that actually you would really, really like to do. It might be something that you used to do that you'd like to get back to again. And then, of course, being realistic and just introducing, you know, one small change at a time. So not signing up for 6 classes over the next month at the gym, maybe just thinking about just doing one thing, see how that goes. Do you need to change it? Do you need to do something else? Did you enjoy it? Therefore, are you able to go back again? So hopefully that has helped you with that one. Have we got anything else? I'm a transgender woman and find it hard to get the motivation to go to the gym, as I think people will make fun of me. Okay, that's an excellent response there as well. Thank you for that. Thank you for sharing. And I think actually going to the gym can feel really daunting for all of us, actually, whether you're male, female, transgender, but particularly because a lot of the gyms can feel quite male dominant. I mean, I know myself, when I've gone to several gyms over the years, didn't feel comfortable myself. So actually, is there some gym classes that you could go to as opposed to the gym itself? Then you're just going to go straight off into a studio room. Some of the gyms actually run, you know, ladies only classes. So would that be something that you might feel a little bit more comfortable with? And also as well, I think, you know, my experience of gyms are that actually nobody really notices you. You know, people are there and they've got, most of the time, their phones nowadays, they've got their programs on the phone, they're messaging friends, you know, pretty oblivious actually to the people that are around them and what they're doing. So I think it is daunting. It is, you know, it can feel quite sort of out of your comfort zone when you first go, but I think it's like anything. Often the anxiety of doing something can often be worse than the actual event itself. So once you've gone that first time, maybe to a class, or you've gone with a friend, or you've gone at a time of day, earlier in the morning, later at the end of the day, when the venue is a lot more quieter. And then once that's built up a little bit of confidence, you might then realise that nobody is looking at you, no one really cares, everyone's too busy with their own lives and their own workouts. So things should then get easier and easier, and then you won't care, and hopefully you'll just be enjoying those sessions. So, but that's a really, really good question. So well done. Anything else coming through before I hand back to Emma? No, I think that's everything for now. So if something does crop up, then of course do feel free to type it out, and then I'll address it in the next Q&A break. So I'll hand back over to Emma.
Thank you, Claire. Right, moving on then. Okay, so why does setting goals help us then? So it keeps us focused, first of all. If we have a goal, for example, going for a 10-minute walk this week, then this gives us the focus. It helps us measure progress. So if we have recorded our goals as we go along, you can measure your progress, and this can motivate you to do more or adjust if necessary. So, for example, if you write down that you're going to go for that 10-minute walk twice this week, and then you record that you only manage 5 minutes twice a week, then you can look at that at the end of the week and think, okay, well, I've still gone out, I've still done better than I did last week, but I'm going to change my goal now and make it 5 minutes over 2 days instead. So it helps you to adjust those goals as well. So it gives us a sense of achievement. So if we achieve the goals we have set ourselves, obviously then we get some achievement. As I said, you've written that down, you've achieved that goal and you've ticked it off and you feel motivated and you feel like you've achieved that goal. It gives us a sense, it gives us reduced stress. So as we know what we have to do and we've already planned it in, okay, so you've got that reduced stress involved there as well. And then you've got improved self-esteem. So it can improve your self-esteem as you feel better about yourself achieving your goals. Okay, so when we talk about setting goals, we tend to use SMART to help us. And this is a way of writing down your goals, which is backed up by research as an effective way to make a change. So how does it work then? So, well, first of all, you need to make sure that your goal is specific. So think about what you actually want to do. Is it measurable? Think about how you can measure it. You will need to know when you've actually reached your goal. And is it achievable? Is it attainable? Is it in your power to accomplish it? Is it relevant? Is the goal relevant to you? And time, and finally, when do you want to accomplish your goal by? So you could have your goal, which is unrealistic and a little vague, such as I would like to do some more activity. Well, this is a little vague and is hard to keep on track of. How much more activity would you like to do and when, etc. So you will need to change that goal and make it a little bit more specific. So if you're going to make that goal SMART, you could say, I'm going to do 2 times 30 minutes exercise sessions this week. One is going to be yoga, one is going to be a brisk walk, and it's going to be with my friends. Or next week, I plan to do 2 sessions online and to go for a swim on Wednesday for an hour. So as you can see the difference there between I'm just going to go, I just want to be more active, to those very specific goals. All right. Okay, so here's another example for you so you can look at it a little bit in more detail. So first of all then, so you've got I want to lose weight. So this is basically the same goal, but it's changed. You can see whether it's a bit more smart or a bit more effective. So I want to lose weight. I want to lose 10 pounds and join a gym this week. And I want to lose between half a pound and a pound of fat each week for 10 weeks by reducing my calories by 20% and doing 30 minutes more walking on 3 days each week. So which goal do we think is more effective then, or more smart? So would we say goal 1 is a little bit vague? Yeah. And then goal 2, more specific, but a long-term goal of 10 pounds and a short-term goal of joining the gym, but it doesn't go into how the goal will be achieved. And realistically, the gym will not cause weight loss alone. Diet and lifestyle account for 80% of weight instead of exercise sessions. And then we've got the goal 3 then. This is more specific and goes into how to achieve the goal. So this is more of an effective, smart or effective goal, okay? So now let's have a look at how you can set yourself a SMART goal. So what do you want to get out from this course? Is there anything you used to do that you stopped doing? Is there anything new that you can start doing this week? So short term, what would you like to achieve over the next few months? So think long term. So a few months, obviously long term, and then set between 1 to 3 new goals at a time. Now, I want you to have a little think about the goals you want to set yourself using these points, sorry. Feel free to write some down now or come back to it at the end of the webinar. So if you've got anything you feel you want to start making some goals or changes around, have a little write down now or obviously in your own notes. You don't have to share that with us. of the things that you might want to start changing. Feel free again to take a picture of this screen as well, because that can be useful to come back to later on. So I'm just going to pause for a moment if you want to take a picture or write any of this down. Okay, so here on the screen are some other ways to improve our motivation. So there's quite a few on here, so I'll just go through a few for you. So you've got one on there which I find quite useful. Try the 5-minute rule. So the 5-minute rule is basically try something for 5 minutes. If you're enjoying it, then maybe try a little bit more. So an example could be you're going to go out for a walk after work. You really don't want to go, but you think, okay, I will go out just for 5 minutes and see how I get on. So you go out for that 5 minutes and you think after that 5 minutes, oh, actually, I could do a little bit more. And then you continue to do a little bit more because you start to feel better and you start to feel the benefits of doing it. So that's where that 5-minute rule comes in, okay? Be consistent, so try and be consistent with your goals and your motivation. So try to, if you're going to go out, say you're going to go out twice a week for your walks, then obviously be consistent with that. Try and maybe go the same time of day or whatever fits into your, if you've got like a weekly plan, make sure that it is consistent with that. And as I said as well, planning ahead. So obviously, if you have got a busy week coming along, then making sure we plan ahead for that as well. So fit in where we can do those things. Okay, so have a little look if there's anything else on the screen as well. So there are lots of different things you can do out there. These aren't all of them, but try to pick 2 or 3 to start with. Okay, reward then. So when we have a award for something, your brain has positive emotions, releasing our efforts to allow for rewards. The brain will link our efforts with positive thoughts. It can push ourselves to reach further goals. And however small or big the goals are, they should always be rewarded when achieved. So when we reward ourselves, our achievements, however small, this can positively, so like we spoke about earlier, positively reinforce our motivation. However, it's important to note not to reward yourself with for example, a chocolate bar every time we exercise. So maybe reward yourself at the end of the week with a chocolate bar instead. Or it doesn't have to always be around food. It can be related to potentially buying ourselves a new gym kit or maybe an outfit that we've had our eye on. So think about our rewards sometimes, rewarding ourselves not necessarily with food, but with other things as well. Okay, so the do's and don'ts with rewarding yourself. So obviously we just briefly touched on this on the previous slide, but here we have do's. Buy yourself something new to help achieve your goals. So activewear, diary to track your progress, or recipe book. So there's some examples there. Allow for treats in moderation. So as I said about that chocolate bar. Meet with friends, so use your friends to help you reward you as well, so that's always good fun. Allow yourself some idle time, so watching a bit of TV or using your phone, and recognizing your achievements as well. And then don't rely on others to reward for your rewards and overindulging as well. Okay, so for home practice for next week then, you're going to set yourself a new goal for this week. So think about a new goal you can set yourself and try and use that SMART principle if possible. Plan how you intend to achieve your goals. So that's again tying into that SMART thing we talked about earlier. Use the tips from today to help improve your motivation. And then lastly, complete your questionnaires ready for the next session. So in the next week's webinar, we will be focusing specifically on physical activity for mental health, okay, or mental well-being. So we have another Slido now. So I'm going to hand you back over to the lovely Claire to take you through this.
Thank you, the lovely Emma. So, our next Slido, what can you do to improve motivation over the next week? So this might take a few moments to have a think about if you haven't already written something down. Hopefully you'll get some inspiration and something will come to you in a moment. It can be, remember, really, really small, a nice, achievable, smart goal to get you started. It could be about your diet, exercise, stress, sleep. Here we go. Set myself a goal using SMART. Perfect. SMART goals are so useful for everyday life. So when we're trying to make changes to our lifestyle and make sure that we stay on track of them, so that we're measuring our progress, making sure they're achievable, realistic, everything that Emma has previously mentioned there. It's a really, really useful tool to have, actually. So also, yeah, you can compare and look at your progress, where you started and where you're at now with that SMART goal. And then we've got reward myself with a donut at the end of the week if I have achieved my goals. Okay, so great that you have a reward in mind, because that might be your motivation to go out and do whatever it is that you're setting yourself to do. Fine to have the odd treat, so the donut would be great as something to look forward to as the odd treat. Of course, just always bear in mind treats in moderation. So remember as well, if you were to go and do an hour's exercise session and then you were to have something like a chocolate bar or a donut, in theory, you could actually be putting back in the amount of calories that you have just burnt off. You've done all that hard work at the gym or that exercise class for nothing. So it's just something to bear in mind that it's not the norm, but as a treat, absolutely. If that's going to be something that works for you, then that's absolutely fine. Attend a swim session with a friend this week. Lovely. I love that, because you are doing it with a friend, so you are held accountable to. Means that you don't want to let your friend down. So that means that you've got it in your diaries, you're going to go and do it. It's going to be great fun. You could have a bit of fun together, perhaps racing each other or whatever your form of swimming is. But yeah, that's a really, really nice one to do together. Also, as the weather changes, finding something inside if you're not particularly one for outdoors and braving the elements, then swimming is really good for this time of year as well. And then using SMART goals to walk an extra 30 minutes at least once this week, and reward myself with a massage if I achieve it. I love this one. So that's, yeah, I love a massage. So that's a really, really nice one. That's something that you can really look forward to. That's a really, really healthy reward that you can give yourself, because actually it all comes under the umbrella of kind of self-care. So, you know, time out for a massage actually is really, really good for our, not only obviously our physical health and releasing all the knots and the tension and everything that we have going on within the body, the physical body, but also the benefits that we have mentally from having that time out and that really, really nice kind of pamper. So that's brilliant, really, really good. And actually it might be that that becomes a bit of a regular thing, you know, maybe once a month that is your treat to have a massage. And maybe you can look at perhaps increasing that walk time if that's something that you wanted to do, or thinking of another goal, you know, a week or so later, and then maybe having that massage again at the end of the month. So really, really lovely. Let me see if there's anything coming on the Q&A. I'm going to plan on a whiteboard in the kitchen, so some time to cook with the children each week. Great, so that's lovely, because that's an inclusive activity. Get the kids involved. Hopefully it will get them interested in food and food preparation and helping you, and also just bring some kind of fun and enjoyment to food again, perhaps, you know, especially if that's an area that you've been lacking in and you feel less motivated with what you are cooking. So that's lovely. That's a really, really nice one. And we've got one here to set my alarm clock half an hour earlier so I can walk to work 2 to 3 days next week. Great. So that's lovely. It's surprising actually what the difference is. I used to have my alarm clock actually set a bit later, and I started doing that quite a few months ago, set it earlier so that I can do the belly breathing and things that are important to me to do on a morning before I start my working day. So it's amazing what the extra, say, half an hour can do to perhaps make your routine on a morning less chaotic, enjoyable, quite pleasurable, and then actually getting that walk in to get to work as well. So you've got your blood and your oxygen and all those endorphins rushing around the body. You're going to feel energized by the time that you get to work. So that's really, really good. And 2 to 3 days for next week, that sounds great. Might be that you really, really start to enjoy it, and who knows, you might even feel that you want to do even more days. But just starting with that SMART goal, 2 to 3 days next week, is a really, really sensible thing to do. So good luck with that one. Hopefully you will enjoy that. Okay, that's lovely. Thank you very much for that. That's brilliant. So we're just going to move on now to the final Q&A session. So if there's anything that flags up in your mind that we've been talking about through this webinar today, then please pop it down into the Q&A panel now, and I will do my best to answer that for you. So anything around kind of motivations, how to set effective goals, or perhaps something that you're pondering, would this work? Could I do this? How can I do it? So just, I will give you a moment to have a little think. And then if you have got any questions for me, please feel free to type them in the panel. Nothing's too silly, so it doesn't matter whether you think it's something silly or you think it's a really, really small question or a small comment. There's no right or wrong here, so everything is very, very valid and important to us all. Okay, so I do find I'm great at making excuses and putting off things as often. I just feel I can't be bothered. Yeah, that is really, really difficult, isn't it? As we've often said, you know, the starting is the hardest part for anything. If you think about it, maybe you know, when you started a new job, that first day, that first week even is daunting, isn't it? So it's that starting which feels, you know, can get your anxiety levels up, definitely. The start of a new relationship could be exciting, but it could be a bit daunting as well. You know, having children, obviously that's all new to us as well. So when we start something new, or when we're trying to reintroduce something that used to be really important to us and we haven't done for a long time for whatever reason, then yeah, absolutely, that can feel daunting, and it's so much easier to stay in your protective safety area and actually not do it. But then Emma mentioned in a couple of those slides there the pros and the cons slide, which which I really like as well. So the pros and cons of not changing your behaviour. What is the worst that can happen? You know, we all have you know, kind of failures at times. So if you set yourself a goal and you don't quite exceed it or achieve it even, then adapt that goal, or just accept that actually, well, that's happened, actually that didn't feel quite right, that didn't go as well as I'd hoped, but you know what, it's absolutely fine, I'll just have a rethink on that, maybe I need to change that goal and that avenue that I'm going down. So that's absolutely fine. If we don't venture out and take that first step, then nothing will ever change. So trying to remember the whys, the pros and the cons, and also when you do it, remember to praise yourself, recognize that achievement, give yourself that healthy reward, tell people, tell your loved ones what you've just done. You know, hopefully they'll understand what a big step this has been for you, just to start making those changes. So and then just remembering that we generate positivity through activity. So when we do something, we get that lift. and then we feel inspired and energized to then do something else. So then we just kind of feed on that, and the more we get those lovely feelings, the more we want them. So then we incline to do more and more. So hopefully that has helped you on that one there. Doesn't look like we've got any other questions coming through. I'll just wait another moment or so before we finish up for today's session. So of course, if you do have any questions that come to your mind after we have finished the session today, do feel free to make a note of them in your pad and then bring them to the session next week. And then of course we can address those in the Q&A session for you. So looks like that's everything coming through. So thank you so much for joining Emma and myself today. Really enjoyed doing the session. Hope you have too. Hope you've picked up lots of useful hints and tips, and have a really lovely week, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks for coming. Bye.